Welcome to Education Forum. I'm Herman Badillo, Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the City University. The improvement of education affects all New Yorkers. This program will focus on the key educational issues and challenges before us all. My guest today is Mizanoor Biswas, who is the President of the University Student Senate, and therefore he is automatically a voting member of the Board of Trustees of the City University. Mr. Biswas was born in Bangladesh and came here to the United States when he was 21 years old. He lives in Queens. He is a graduate of York College, and he is currently a graduate student in economics and a teacher assistant at City College. And I think that you represent a new and growing group of students at the City University, because the Daily News had an article yesterday that said that 15% of the entering freshmen of the City University last year came from Asia. And that's unusual, because in terms of the population of the City of New York, Asians represent only about 5%. What do you think is the reason that we have such a high percentage of Asians at the City University?
Well, first, let me thank you for having me today. Certainly, I'm from Asia, and I represent the Asian students, but as well, I represent the students of City University of New York. I think one of the reasons the Asian students has a higher percentage in CUNY because of its moderate tuition and just the nature of New York City attracts immigrants and has jobs and other facilities and families that were here before and who's coming. So, and I think it's a big wave of new immigrants from Asia in any case.
Now, you came here to the United States when you were 21 years old, right?
Yes.
Did you get a high school diploma in Bangladesh?
Yes.
Yes. And did you study English there?
I did study it, but it's a minimum level of English. It's not, the medium of education is not English. So, but we have some mandatory English. It's not quite enough to continue here, but however, I had to take a test called TOEFL, Teaching of English as Foreign Language. We all had to take it before we get admitted to any university, in the United States. So that made me learn English a little, and then afterwards I start working here and going to school. Sort of situation makes you to go through this process.
Why did you come to the United States? Did you come alone, or did you come with your family?
I did come by myself. The reason I came here predominant is to get a better education and, sort of in the long run to achieve the American dream. Mm-hmm. And that's about it. Now,
how long did it take you to really feel comfortable with the English language? Because it's harder when you come here at the age of 21. I came here from Puerto Rico when I was 12, and I think at that age you learn much faster. Mm-hmm. When you're much older, it's much more difficult, so you speak English very well, considering you didn't come here till you were 21.
I believe that it's true that when you're younger it's easier for you to learn, but once you start going to school and you interact with the population that knows English, you have to, and you're in a predicament to speak, then you learn a little faster than if you're not going to school. So yes, the assimilation may take a little longer, but I think it took me about 2 years to get into the pace. But every day I learn English. Every day there's something new that I learn.
Do you find English to be relatively easy compared to your native language, or harder? Because I found it harder.
It's harder.
That's right, compared to Spanish.
It won't be easier comparing to your mother tongue. Mm-hmm. It can be. I don't think so. But the grammar and other things, it's easy to adopt. And vis-a-vis, if I were to speak English and then learn my language, Bengali, which is would have been a little more harder. But from a different perspective, to coming to English could be a little easier. But obviously, it's harder than my own language.
Now, when you came to New York City, did you go to York College right away, or did you wait a while before you went to college?
Actually, I had applied to York and Staten Island, and I mean Wagner College in Staten Island, and some other institution, I can recall it now, the three of them. But I was hoping that I would be, not York, but UAPC, University Application Processing Center, and wherever they place me, that's up to them. And I was hoping that I would be admitted at CUNY because of its then very cheaper tuition and other facilities. I had my friends who were already going to Baruch, York, and City, so I was feeling a lot more comfortable coming to York. I waited about 3 months to get in.
Now, when you went to York, did you go there full-time, and did you have a part-time or a full-time job?
I went there full-time. I had to be a full-time student, but I took, I had always a semi-full-time job, meaning 30 hours. I would work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
What kind of work did you do?
I started working, picking delivery. I remember I started working at Carnegie Deli, 55th and 7th Avenue. And then from there, wherever I could have my hand on. Summertime, I would work 16, 17 hours a day. So different time, different jobs, you know, whatever it pays you. And, you know, as long as I can make my tuition and my living, I'm done. And as long as I don't have it, I keep going and keep going, try to, you know, even it out.
And how long did it take you to graduate from York College?
It took me about good 7 years. Even though I needed 120 credits, but I had about 149 credits. I took some credits like speech, other things, because I think even though it's not in the curriculum, then now I think it's included there. I felt that I need to take those classes to prepare myself better in the real life.
And what did you major in at York?
Business, and I took some courses in psychology and political science.
And now you're going to City College?
Yes.
And you're studying what at City College as a graduate student?
Yeah, economics.
And what do you hope to do when you get your PhD?
I worked with the UN for about a year and a half. I rather say UN-affiliated organization. I hope to go back to UN, and also I don't think I would be comfortable doing anything but being an educator. So I always wanted to be an educator, and I still do want to be an educator in any form or shape.
So I hope you expect to teach at the City University.
Yes, I started doing it at LaGuardia, and I hope to do it at a bigger capacity. Because
one of the things that bothers me is that too many of these graduate students at the City University don't teach at the City University. I mean, my view is the reason we have a graduate school is so that we bring some of our own students to teach at CUNY because they understand the problems better.
I think part of it is that we don't use our resources as much as we can, and also the students want to work at CUNY. This is what they believe in. This is why they want to do their PhD or any other program at CUNY. But there is not much of communication as far as whether we want to really see our graduate working in our campus or not. But I think there's a trend nowadays that there are more hirings in the graduate school to do teaching in City College, I mean the City Universities. I believe there's a new program where it would allow the English graduate students to teach the English courses around the university, provided that they'll have a special training, and I'm sure you're aware of it.
Now, as a graduate student, do you have professors that provide orientation to you, aside from your usual courses?
Not really, and I think as a graduate student we are very mature. We know exactly what we have to do, except that we have professors who work as mentors and sort of provide information and sort of make a smooth transition from here to the professional life. But other than that, we don't need the day-to-day supervision or any other sort of information, because when you go through undergrad and a few years in grad school, you sort of on your own, and you know what to expect, what to do.
Now, the question that I think a lot of people wonder is, you couldn't really speak English until you were 21 years old. You started to learn the language. You came here, you worked your way through your college, you're now a graduate student at City. How did you get to be president of the Student Senate? Because normally that is a position for someone who was born here and who is familiar with the politics of the student body.
I think from the get-going, I was very much aware of what's going on around me and around our campus and our other students. I got involved very early, I believe in my second year at York, the student government there. So I began to learn. And I put myself into this situation so that, once again, this is also a vehicle to learn. And more you learn, and more you get to speak more, to listen more, to learn. So I was allowing myself to that kind of predicament and to say how I do. And that's also a test for me, how well I can do. So things led to other, one things led to other, and I became very active at York, and then very active around the university, and started to, networking with other student governments. So my face, sort of became familiar, and I got elected as a vice chair first, and then from there I felt like I could take this up, endeavor, and I took the responsibility, and this is my second year into this office. So it's sort of it's the eagerness to learn, or eagerness to achieve, or to serve.
But it takes a lot of time, because after all, you're working, you're going to school full time, and then you're campaigning to be the head of the Student Senate, and that's almost like a political campaign, right? Because you have to go to all the campuses, don't you?
Yes, we do have to go all the 22 or 21 campuses. It's a lot of time. Once again, I'm hyperactive. I can work hard. I trained myself to work hard while I was going to school and working 30 hours, going to school full time. Another thing is that I don't have much of my social life. My entire life is 7 o'clock in the morning, go to
well, that's
offices.
a full-time job, almost campaigning for for the Student Senate. Did you have a primary fight the first time you were elected? Did you have an opponent?
We have 3 tiers of elections, and first you compete in the campus, and then you get elected as executive member, and from there executive member you come to the University Student Senate, and then Senate has their own election in September, and that's when they elect.
What percentage of the student body comes out to vote on these elections?
The percentage varies in campus to campus. Some campuses 10, 12, 15%. Some campuses as low as 2% or 3%. Also, it depends on the nature of the government. If it is a graduate government, it's a very low turnout, because by default, the graduate students are very busy. They're coming and going. They don't have much time to participate or take part into the typical student politics or student issues, because they're by that time looking into the window to go to their real life activities. So graduate governments are very low, but undergrad, once again, is 15, 12, and it's a good turnout comparing to national elections.
It sure is. We'll be back after this announcement.
You don't have to like me.
Or you can.
You don't have to run with me.
You really don't have to run away from me.
And we're not all that different.
I like good food. Good music. I want a good job.
I want my kids to live in a world
Where they are safe and loved.
And respected for who they are.
You don't have to like me, but if you talk to me,
You might.
we can end prejudice if we talk to each other. Call.
Tell us what you'd do.
together we can build one America.
My guest today is Mizanoor Biswas, who is the president of the Student Senate of the City University, and as such, a voting member of the Board of Trustees. Now, you had the fortune or bad fortune of being elected president of the Student Senate at a time of turmoil in the City University, when we have all of these problems and issues of remediation. What is your feeling about that issue?
It's a mixed feelings. Remediation, we've been talking about it, and I spent first year and a half of my tenure dealing with this issue. Now that it's passed, I think, unless any other issues that comes before the remediation, before the board, I think we have to find out how to smooth it out and how to implement it better way, possible to see that we don't lose our enrollments. And also there's another piece that I think we ought to be concerned about is this: is it really the end saying that, you know, yes, there is no remediation, or there's somebody or some other organization else there who has a say over our saying, meaning does the Regency has to do anything with that, or the state has to do anything with that, or as such. But in-house, I believe Chancellor is working hard to have a nice transition, and we as the member of the board, you know, have to make sure that it doesn't look like that we are taking a drastic measure, even though it is, to me, to some extent, it was a drastic change. But once again, now we have to have it, then let's have it as good as possible way we can have it.
When you go to speak to the students at the different campuses, what reaction do you get when you speak at the senior colleges or the community colleges, or is this reaction the same wherever you go to speak?
No, it varies. From the community college perspective, they're saying that we are already underfunded, we are already understaffed, under-resourced. How are we going to take influx of students from senior college, and how can we you know, have a better education if our class size is going to be bigger and bigger? From the senior college perspective, they're really worried about the enrollment loss. I don't think the college would be able to survive if they lose 40% of their enrollment. And another thing that I hear when I go to the community is that there is a myth that CUNY all of a sudden are not going to accept people, not knowing what kind of people or what kind of not being acceptable would be acceptable. So there's this myth that high school students, sometimes I go to high schools, and they're saying that we don't want CUNY because they don't want us. I don't hope that you know, gets sufficed in the community or in the greater New York City, because that would be a big loss, because some of the people would not even apply to us, even though they will be acceptable.
Do you find that the students are upset that they have not been able to pass the written assessments test in English or in reading or in arithmetic? Because I spoke to some students at Borough Manhattan Community College, and they didn't know that they didn't have a real high school diploma. They thought when they graduated from high school that, in fact, they were ready to go to college. Then when they couldn't pass the test and they found they had to take remedial courses, they were upset that they had to do so much additional work before they would be ready for college work. Have you had that reaction too?
Of course, they will be upset because they feel like their degree is not worth what it is supposed to be. But they're even more upset because now that they have a degree, they can't even go to college because of this policy.
Why do they feel that they were let down by their high school that they come from, that they should have been trained better? Well,
yes, it is, but they can't go back and change it because they already get out of high school.
No, but
only way they could do themselves better, or we could do them, you know, do any favor, is to provide them the education they need, and they would want to go to school to their choice, and that could be a senior or a junior college. And now that Regency is taking hard steps towards, you know, elevating the education of high schools and other schools. The whole debate is about whether college should offer or senior college should offer remediation or not. That's totally a separate issue than saying that, well, all of a sudden we don't think that this group of students can come to college because they don't have enough education. Because anybody around the country, about 89% of the colleges offers remediation, because there's always a little slack in any system. How do we provide people to overcome those kind of situation? One of them is to provide them more education, and remediation was giving them more education. And we have to remind ourselves it's only 2% of our resources goes to remediation, not a whole big portion of the university budget. Out of 1.2 billion, 2% is a very insignificant amount.
One of the ideas that has come out of this whole debate is that maybe the colleges should specialize in giving remediation only at first, so that the students can get the remediation out of the way through an immersion program rather than getting it slowly over a period of time. What would be your reaction to that idea?
As a student, I believe there is not one single solution to this whole big problem. Yes, if it is that a student needs remediation in 3 areas, reading, math, and writing, then it could be okay. Let's deal with your remediation first and get into a college level course. But if it is that a student gets past the reading test and past the math test, and the writing test they missed it by 2 points or 1 point, or with a very slight margin, and you can see the students, they will perform well. If you I think that's a disservice not to let them that student come to college and not get the education in a college level, because he would be discouraged to come to college.
Is writing the biggest problem among the students? Of
yes,
the 3, reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Writing is the biggest one around the country. It's not just New York City. LA has the same problem. There is a reason. The high school standard is not good enough for the colleges now on to accept any students. They don't prepare the students. And also, remember, 59% of the students comes out of high school. The 41% students of CUNY comes out of, they're non-traditional students, meaning older populations. They're out of writing for a long time, out of touch. And there could be some, New York's finest in John Jay, who could be a finest in the street, but at the same time, they may not have the touch of, of doing the math. All they need a semester or a little longer than that to brush up the skills they had 25 years ago. So it varies, even though you deal the high school level, still there's another 41% that you have to deal with. That's not the high school population, that's out of high school.
In Bangladesh, where you went to high school, did you get a good education in high school there compared to the kind of education the kids get in high school here, would you say?
I wouldn't comment on good or bad, but it's very rigorous over there.
Did you get,
it's a very science-based.
Did you get a lot of courses in writing, for example?
Yes, that's one of the things I had to adjust when I came here. There is no objective questions. There is no multiple choice. Almost 99% is writing.
Over there?
Over there, at least when I was there. I don't know, I've been there for long. But I believe still it is. In the British system, you cannot have exams in, mostly an objective type, meaning multiple choice.
Well,
or any
that's
other
part of the argument that the idea of having multiple choice instead of having essays, as you did, means that the students who graduate from high school are less likely to have the ability to write, and that's one of the problems.
I think multiple choice has its own benefit, but at the same time, it has to be a mixture. At least 50% has to be writing. That it's a good practice, no matter what are you writing for, even if you're writing for history, but still you're learning English somehow, even if it is a history question, and that prepares you better to go and write.
Now, one of your functions as the president of the Student Senate is to go to Albany and go to meet with the City Council to try to make sure that there are no further cutbacks at in the CUNY budget or any more tuition increases. What has been your reaction to the legislators in Albany?
We have friends from the both sides.
You had Villela in the Bronx.
Villela in the Bronx.
And Val in Queens.
Yes, they're in the Higher Education Committee, and we had a delegation from the board, and I also go there. They're very, very sympathetic to our issues. Maltese, Senator Maltese, they're very sympathetic to our issues. Also on the Democratic side, we have Assemblyman Ed Sullivan. He's very, very CUNY friendly. He's trying to restore our budget. He's trying to give us more money as much as he can. But the problem is, there's, when it goes to the governor can almost veto everything, as he did last year. And that stopped the process. With the City Council, I don't want to comment about Mayor, because Mayor has his own mind, and he should, he's doing whatever he thinks is better for him or his political future. But the City Council is very, very eager to give us the money that we deserve. I think Chairman Helen Marshall is fighting for the longest time to give us our share of the pie. But once again, to me, to see that education doesn't take the first priority, it always, even education is always in the midst of political bipartisan thing. It's a disgrace, and I think it's a disservice to the citizens of New York City, and as well as the students of New York State.
Well, you know, one of the problems that I've had is trying to prevent tuition increases is that it's not just the governor or the mayor who approve tuition increases, but the legislature and the council as well. So that so far in these last couple of years, we've been able to avoid tuition increases, and I hope we'll be able to do so in the future. But it does take two to tango, as they say. Is the executive and the legislative branches that have been responsible for the tuition increases in the past few years.
A system that has about 200,000 students cannot survive with 5,000 full-time professors and about 7,000 part-time professors. It's impossible, and the legislator has to see that through. And legislator has to make up, is this education their first priority? And I think there is a saying there is education is the backbone of the society. If it is, this is the backbone. They ought to take care of this backbone a lot better than the way they're taking care of nowadays. And it's just no way out of it.
Well, I certainly agree, and we'll both keep pushing both the legislature and the city council to give us additional funds. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye now. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You can reach us by email at our website, www.cunytv.cuny.edu, to let us know what you think, or write to us at CUNY TV, 25 West 43rd Street, Suite 1220, New York, New York, 10036.